yesterday's title, so it'll be fixed later, but it's just annoying. I dislike when I make silly mistakes like that. Canada's preventing Chinese EVs from spying? How? Because I'm sure the other countries in the world who have banned those cars would really like to know what we're doing and stuff. Governments are leaving X. Won't somebody think of the children or something like that? They're pretending like this is a safety issue, and I think that that's just bunk. It's just bunk. They're trying to tank X and tank Elon Musk because they say that they don't have control of it, but they absolutely do have control of it. Like, it's censored. It's big time censored. Everything's big time censored. Holy smoke. $2.3 billion for EVs. Yeah, we're going to talk a lot about EVs. We're going to start there as well today. Police officers and tow truck drivers and crime, like hitmen, like calling out hits. Wow. Oh my. Yeah, that's happening. Silver's marching back to $35 an ounce, which is a Sigma 27 event or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. So there's lots to get to. Let's get to it. First, we've got to start with Chinese EVs. And the Chinese EVs are in a situation where Melissa says, I'm very curious the strategies Ottawa will use not to allow Chinese EVs to spy. What strategies? Yeah, that's a good question. And if so, why are other countries not using these strategies and banning such EVs? Does Canada have a superpower in controlling China or these EVs, or is it just a lie? Yes, it's just a lie. It's absolutely just a lie. And these are a whole bunch of headlines that are talking about how Premier Ford says Chinese-made electric spy vehicles will listen in on Canadians' phone calls. Spies on wheels. Poland bans Chinese EVs from military bases. BYD electric K-car spied targets Japan's iconic mini vehicle segment. So they're spying on you, and we all know it. And are they going to do anything to change it? No, absolutely not. It's also strange, as I've been streaming for a couple of minutes, and usually there's people here, and there's nobody here at all. Maybe I should kill the stream and try again. But no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to continue doing this. Here is Juno News, and they say Canada will let 49,000 Chinese EVs in, even as other countries block them over security risks. Minister Jolie dodges questions, citing jobs and connected vehicle policy promising safety, but leaving Canadians worried about software and spy risks. Here's just a little bit of this exchange.
So the Prime Minister announced back on January 16th that your government will allow up to 49,000 Chinese-made EVs into the Canadian market. And as you know, multiple governments internationally, including the United States, Israel, Poland, and a couple others have restricted or effectively blocked Chinese-made EVs over security concerns. So is there a view that these governments are overreacting?
So let me be clear. In 2023, there was already 44,000 EVs coming from China that were coming in. And so mainly they were Teslas, Polestars, and Volvos. So we expect that in the 49,000 cars, that would be the case. But at the same time, what we're ready to have is to create jobs through investments from Korea. I'm sorry, I'll just finish my sentence. I'll finish my sentence. I will finish my sentence. So
many countries are drafting
1% at a time. Sorry for interrupting.
You will not finish your sentence. So it's a whole bunch of bullshit. And Globe Politics is reporting Ottawa says it won't allow Chinese EVs to be used for spying on Canadians. Oh, yeah? Great. What are you going to do about it? Redacted says these are the same people that used Huawei for years in critical infrastructure, still allow Chinese police stations to operate, and did nothing to prevent Chinese interference in the last 3 elections. And don't ask about it or you're a conspiracy theorist? Or something like that. Weird, right? More in this exchange mentioned in Parliament says MP Vincent Ho asks Minister Jolie if she would drive a Chinese-made EV. And again, the back and forth here is a little weird. And Mel Jolie's mic is really loud. So
1% at a time.
Just last question. Would you personally drive a Chinese-made EV? Yes or no?
you wouldn't?
I said, would you?
But my question is, you wouldn't?
I'm the one asking the questions here. You're the one answering.
Well, I'm asking a question to you too.
I'm asking you.
You're here to answer our questions.
The point of the committee is that the committee members ask you questions.
I'm willing to
Are you
drive
serious?
a very great...
You're asking me? I'm asking
1% at a
Canadian
time.
People are
Please,
asking you.
MP Ho, your time is up. MP Ho, your time is up.
I'll just finish, Chair. I'm willing to drive a great Canadian-made vehicle, and that will be my focus. I hope it's
Minister?
yours.
So you won't.
So Chinese companies making cars in Canada, no problem, I'll drive that. And yesterday I showed a car crash with a Chinese-made EV, and the car exploded into fire. And so I wouldn't want to be in a car because you don't plan to crash, right? You don't plan. My son was asking, why do we wear seatbelts? And I said, well, because bad things happen when you're not expecting them. You don't expect to crash. I don't get into the car and think to myself, okay, today's crash is going to be not so bad. I think I'm not going to crash. And it's when you do crash that you appreciate the safety features. But you want to be prepared for that potential eventuality and not be thinking to yourself as you travel through the windshield that you're breaking through with your face. I wish I'd put my seatbelt on, like it's one of those things, an ounce of prevention. And I mean, pound of cure, provided that you don't come up against, I don't know, like if you're in a little car and you come up against a big truck, well, maybe the seatbelt's not enough. Anyway, I digress. Table Salt says, Canada sells out to the CCP, not just EVs either. Energy and Natural Resources Minister Tim Hodgson won't rule out allowing Chinese state-owned companies from buying Canadian oil companies. So, yay. In the Sidewinder report in 1997, the MO, how the Chinese operate, is to buy the biggest company they can in a sector they want to control. So like in lobster fishing, they'll buy a canning or whatever we bring the catch into, they'll buy one of those and they'll buy like the biggest fishery they can. And they'll use that to leverage their influence in the sector. And often they'll leave the local management in charge, but they own it. And so like you give them everything because they own it. They used this with a video surveillance company in Ottawa, and they got a whole bunch of federal contracts. And this is the way they spy, the Chinese spy, and it's quite effective. And so in this situation, here's the oil sands. Would you like them? Would you like to own them from China? Not great. Not great. Back to the EV cars. The oil sands thing was supposed to be at the very beginning, but I digress. Mistakes happen. CBC Watcher says, Carney, this is why our government. So we're going to be spending $2.3 billion on electric vehicle affordability program. And I'll let him say it, I guess, but it's 3 minutes long. It's 3 minutes long. It's too long. I'll just read these quotes because Carney's a terrible speaker anyway. Canadians who purchase or lease a battery electric or fuel cell electric vehicle will receive up to $5,000 and up to $2,500 for plug-in hybrids priced up to $50,000 to support the Canadian auto industry. This $50,000 cap will not apply to Canadian-made EVs or Canadian-made plug-in hybrids. There's only one electric vehicle made in Canada, the Dodge Charger Daytona. Dodge Charger Daytona electric coupe starts at approximately $55,000 for the RT model, which is the higher performance Scat Pack reaching around, or with the higher performance Scat Pack, why would they call it that? Reaching around $80,000 before fees, or $86,000 on the high end. How much does the whole plan cost, and how is Carney's net zero dream being paid for? This sounds a lot like Trudeau's EV 2.0. Yep, I think that's true. And Ryan says, more taxpayer money subsidizing a market no one wants. This government is forcing Canadians to purchase products they don't want. I'm sick of this crap. Lots of people are using, I saw a couple of people yesterday, 2 different people saying, I'm so glad I'm leaving Canada. Can't come fast enough. Like moving to the United States to, work in the United States somewhere, do something in the United States. Legit, above board, as far as I know. So moving somewhere other than Canada, people are getting excited. And like all the comments were congratulatory. Nobody was like, you traitor, stay and fight. Everybody was like, oh man, yeah, good job. Get out of Dodge. So if you can, the writing's been on the wall for a while. My gosh. Canada Proud says, thank you, Kyle Seebeck, for schooling these liberals about what these policies actually mean. So the $5,000 subsidy is actually subsidizing American workers in the United States, not Canadian workers anywhere. Here we go.
It's time for a little bit of education for these liberals, Mr. Speaker. Less than 5% of vehicles manufactured in Canada will qualify for this EV rebate. The rest will come from the United States and other foreign manufacturers. But imagine you're the auto worker in Brampton who is supposed to manufacture the Jeep Compass EV. That job went to the United States. That Jeep EV Compass being manufactured in the United States is actually going to be subsidized by your taxpayer dollars. If you are that auto worker in Brampton, you are looking at this Liberal government and how this is going to benefit Donald Trump and saying, what the hell is going on in Ottawa?
Yeah, the response is, I don't think it actually is on this. So, but usually the responses are terrible. Mark Carney says, with Canada's new auto strategy, we'll make Canada a global leader in EV production and unlock massive new opportunities for the Canadian auto industry and Canadian workers. Yeah, but no, I don't think that they're actually going to do any of those things. EVs, nobody wants to buy those cars. I don't want to buy those cars. I want to have an extra gas vehicle that I've got in my garage that will last me until 2075, because I think they want to crack. I think they want to do with cars, gas-powered cars, what they did with meat, and I think they're going to say and did with meat. They're phasing meat out, and I think that soon they're going to say only AI assist driving will be allowed in an electric car. So you're going to get on the street and the electric car is going to read the speed limit, and you're not going to be able to go faster than the speed limit. And then they're going to say, you're too dangerous, you human, to be on the road, and you're not allowed to be on the road anymore. And only EVs can. You can go drive your gas-powered vehicle on like a race car track if you want to, but you can't drive it on a regular road to like get your groceries. That's too dangerous. You might kill everybody. And it's the safetyism aspect of things that they're going to try and do this with. And in the context of Trump's tariffs and Trump encouraging American companies by giving them all sorts of benefits, like you can make your own power generation on site, you can make all your factories work together closely, physically close, so you can have all your parts like right across the way, and just like you don't have to truck them across a border or anything like that. You can just drive them across the parking lot, and your own power generation, all sorts of incentives to bring auto manufacturing specifically, but also other manufacturing to the United States, all sorts of deals being done. So what's happening in Canada? Massive losses, right? People are going to the United States. And Table Salt says Canada lost 27,500 manufacturing jobs in 2026. Brian says, as quoting Mark Carney, we're building Canada strong and creating thousands of high-paying jobs. Nope, they are not. They are absolutely not. Heritage TO is highlighting, Integrity Toronto is highlighting this historical plaque being removed from Hudson Bay Company, HBC. And that's it. We're done. We're done, HBC. Canada's done. We're done. I wonder how you get that plaque. I wonder if you could go and get that plaque. Like it's probably in some storage locker somewhere, right? I'd put that up in my living room. Where could I? Hey, Toronto city workers, where could I find this if it were to fall off a truck? I'm just putting it out there. If anybody gives me any hot tips, that'd be great. Or I'd buy it. I'd give you whatever it's worth. I mean, the metal, they probably have already melted it down for the. Is there any copper in there? Any silver? Silver, don't get me started. Silver's just tanking. Holy smokeronies. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Holly Doan says meeting Prime Minister Carney NATO commitments would require a $124 billion increase in annual defense spending. Annual, that's like every year. So are we going to do that? No, I don't. I would be surprised if we did. If we did, we might actually have to like buy sleeping bags for our troops and stuff like that. And so it just doesn't seem like the Canadian government is really interested in doing anything that helps our troops in a meaningful way. Here is Stephen Harper, and he's unveiling his picture, his portrait, to hang in the Prime Minister's, wherever the Prime Minister's portraits hang. And Aaron O'Toole says, proud to have served with Stephen Harper and to hear his patriotic speech today on Canadian unity and bipartisan resolve at this global moment. And then Jeremy McKenzie says, you never accomplished anything real in your entire worthless life. So of course you're proud to be a stooge 20 years ago. I would be floored if your IQ is higher than 85. And then O'Toole says, raise that dough yet, Jeremy? You rant a lot, but don't seem to get shit done. I can remember a few books that might help with follow through. And I don't know why he thinks being a condescending douche is a good idea, but it's a weird flex for an elected member of parliament. So, and he's a globalist to boot. Here is this. I've shown exchanges from this same exchange before, but this is a good one that I haven't shown. And she's asking, where are we going to get the money for this now $14 billion for the food, the grocery rebate? And Champagne starts talking and then stops immediately because he knows what he's saying is just to waste time, and he's not answering the question. And so that's weird, right? Like, how is it that our elected MPs can just sit there and waste time and not answer questions?
When I speak to people in my riding, they are tired of politics. They want simple answers. 11 million, 11.3, will you be printing money or putting it on the line of credit?
So how are you going to explain to your people in your riding
It's a simple question.
that you voted
You're
in
the
favor?
finance minister. Finance is based on numbers. Will you be printing money or will it go on the line of credit?
What would you say to your constituent if you say you voted in favor
but you're not willing to support Canadians. So I think people will be confused. You should help them. We can help you.
Minister, please just an answer.
Well, that's what I'm saying. How are you going to explain that?
So these people don't care about how they sound. They will just pivot and answer questions that they want to answer instead of the question asked. How are you paying for this? Are you putting it on credit, or how are you paying for this? Cutting costs somewhere else? No answer. Just how are you going to explain to your constituents? I don't even know what he wants her to explain to her constituents. Jasraj, is that right? He's an MP from, where is he from? MP for Calgary East. Says the finance minister refuses to answer a simple question. Will his budget bill give Mark Carney the power to bypass conflict of interests rules or to benefit Brookfield? He wouldn't answer. If the answer was no, he would have said. That means Brookfield could benefit from Mark Carney's government with no safeguards, no accountability, undermining Canadian laws. Canadians deserve transparency, not special treatment for liberal insiders. And it's a 5-minute long clip, 4 minutes and 46 seconds. So I'm not going to play it right now, but you can check it out. Link is in the description if you're interested. Mark Nixon is responding to this one. Bill C-15, if approved, same thing, would allow Brookfield to gain contracts without adhering to the Conflict of Interest Act. You read that correctly. Champagne refuses to answer the question. Explosive information. Explosive-ish. Fine, whatever, Here's Evan Solomon and the AI thing. And the question this guy asks is basically, well, I'll let him ask it. I think it's a well-asked question. Here we go.
You were talking about the 11,300 testimonies or reactions or responses that fed into your strategy. Many experts, about 160, came together, signed a letter questioning this process. One of the issues was that as you accepted anonymous responses, this could have opened the door for people to use AI-generated content on this AI-related consultation process. So this was done in record time, and Jonathan Roberge is a professor at the Scientific Research Institute, and he says it's quite problematic to have dealt with the answers from the public in this way because there are biases that are introduced into the system, and it is really a closed loop situation, as it were. So what's your reaction, given that we don't even know that the input all comes from real individuals and the analysis done by AI, that it is not biased? Thank you for the very good question.
The task force, the 28 members who worked quickly, I want to thank the Canadians, over 11,000, who took the time to weigh in. That was part of it. Having an open and public consultation of this size is really important. And it generated genuine feedback that we have now posted, and people can see and get into this conversation to try to create as democratic an open and transparent process as possible. But I know the honourable member will understand that this technology moves at speed. And if we did not deploy some new efficiencies to help us analyze the 11,000 documents, it would have taken 10 months. And instead, or 8 to 10 months we heard, and instead of 8 months, we had help to make sure we could process in 8 days and meet with these.
We had help through AI. I put a document, so I use AI to code, and I put a document in there from one of the languages that I wanted the AI to code in, and I was like, listen, we're going to use this, and I want you to do it this way, and I wanted it to read the docs for a specific plugin, because I had to set up the plugin, and give me the Cole's notes, like, as if you were a trainer, read this document and tell me what I need to know to set this up effectively. What's the recommended settings for this plugin? Let me set it up. It told me absolutely 100% wrong, totally 100% wrong. And I don't know how to explain that. And so so when these guys say we used AI to analyze these documents, it's not a technology that can be trusted. It is a technology that it's in its infancy, and sure, it gets some things right. You can do things with it if you have knowledge of what you're trying to do. And if you don't, then you'll run into a block that you can't get past. So It's very interesting situation. Like, and they are trying to make this seem like it's very, very good technology. It's not at the level where you can trust it. It's simply not. And it doesn't understand what reality is. Its reality is what we tell it is. And it will enforce that through repeating ad nauseum what we tell it reality is. So that's called programming it. Aaron Gunn is talking about something else. He says, today in the House of Commons, I brought up Brookfield's sneaky attempt to send Canadian hydroelectricity from Powell River to the United States and pressed the minister responsible on whether he was going to accept the recommendation from Canada's energy regulator or reject the permit, and proceeded instead with a full licensing process and review. I can't tell by his answer if either the minister didn't understand the process or doesn't know what's going on. The recommendation's sitting on his desk. So this is the one where the minister responds, and the response is kind of lackluster. But they're all lackluster, really. Here we go.
The honourable member for North Island, Powell River.
Good news, Mr. Speaker. Canada's energy regulator has rejected Brookfield's plans to send Canadian hydroelectricity to the United States with almost no benefit to the people who live here, and has instead recommended a full licensing process and review. But the final decision still rests with the Minister of Natural Resources. So will that minister commit to accepting the energy regulator's recommendations and ensuring that Canada's national interests always come first?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Let me reassure the member across the aisle that our government is working closely with the government of British Columbia to build an affordable, reliable, and clean electricity grid that meets the significant surge in demand we are expecting in the years to come. As the member opposite said, this matter is currently before the Commission of the Canadian Energy Regulator, which makes its decisions independent of the federal government in the best interests of...
The recommendation's on his desk. He needs to approve it or deny it. So that's super weird, right? Here is Sama, and they say they don't ban meat outright. That would be too obvious. Instead, they make it expensive through regulation, tax it for climate, subsidize alternatives, fund studies showing it's dangerous, promote plant-based in schools, restrict where you can buy it, and shame you for eating it. Medieval lords restricted hunting with force. Modern elites restrict meat with propaganda. Different method, same goal, same result. The peasants stay weak. The elites stay strong. Yep. And expensive meat is happening. Expensive everything is happening. And so how do you make chocolate cereal from a greenhouse? City News or CTV News says BC's First Nation withdraws support for liquefied gas export facility. They're using all assets in order to shut down pipelines and things like that because their green grift is shaky and they want to shore it up a bit. Blacklock's reporter says green electricity regulations are doomed to fail. Electricity Canada tells senators, says federal rules are unworkable, unachievable, and costly. Yes, and they are. Of course they are. And with that, we've got to say goodbye to the stream. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you want to the whole show, head over to CanadaPoly.com. If not, that's okay. I'll be around tomorrow. Tomorrow's Saturday. I'm always more busy on the weekends, like way more busy on the weekends. I think that we're going to be able to do a kitchen table talk this weekend. I'll confirm tomorrow, but I'm pretty sure we will.